Hey everyone, Jason here. So I'm out in Querétaro, Mexico, and although I have other videos coming about my travels here, I wanted to make a quick video about the 180-day tourist visa that is available here in Mexico. And there's a lot going on with it lately, people not getting the 180 days when they expect to, and basically my strategy for getting it. I want to say that I got the 180 days, and in fact I was actually asking for less time. So yeah, in this video I'm going to talk about my strategy and my take on it. Of course, this is my opinion. If you want like specific information, then I recommend you go to the Mexican immigration website, or other more reliable sources than just some YouTube guy's opinion. But yeah, this is a video about how I got into the country with 180 days and my strategy for getting it. Now, instead of a video just being about me sitting here talking, I'm gonna start it off with my walk coming here, and yeah, you can hear my lovely voice in the background as we go. Okay, so let's get started. So as you know, Mexico is a destination that's popular among backpackers, expats, digital nomads, and snowbirds because it offers this free 180-day tourist visa. Right now, during COVID-19 pandemic, it's a destination that doesn't require a negative PCR or antigen test result. So there's also no quarantine period when entering the country unless the traveler is showing signs or symptoms. So that makes Mexico a very attractive place to get to right now for a lot of travelers. So like I said, over the past few months, there have been reports of people not receiving the 180 days when requested, and even stories of different family members getting different lengths of stay. There's one story of a family arriving, and the entire family got a few months worth of stay, but the mother or wife only got 7 days. And there's other stories of people requesting longer stays and only getting a few days. And also I've seen in other social media reports, people getting their time basically scribbled on their FMM, sort of incoherently. I've seen some examples and you really can't make out what the length of stay is. There really seems to be no real reason for the differences from person to person, and so it can be stressful for some people planning to visit Mexico at this time. The amount of time a visitor receives has always been the discretion of the immigration officer, and it continues to be so. Now, I want to say that just because Mexico has a 180-day visa, it doesn't mean that a visitor is entitled to it, and I really need to add here that despite the anxiety and disappointment shared by some foreign travelers, I think people really need to abandon this sense of entitlement as they plan to visit Mexico. I also want to add that I don't want you to think that traveling to Mexico is a free-for-all. There's a lot of travel documents that you need to provide on entry. There's the Mexico FMM, a health declaration form, and also you'll need to do a customs declaration on arrival. I personally had my bags looked through, and I saw everyone else having their bags examined as well. So as I was planning to visit Mexico and wanting to have a longer stay than a week or two, I decided to think the process through and come up with a strategy. So as a digital nomad planning to stay in Mexico for several months, I decided that I would treat the process the same as though I was traveling to another more restrictive country. I asked myself, if I was an immigration officer, what questions would I have to determine how long a stay I'd grant a visitor to my country? Things that I would want to know as an immigration officer are, has the visitor ever been to the country before? Why were they visiting? Where were they staying while they were here? Do they have any travel or health insurance? Do they have enough money for the duration of their visit? When do they plan to leave? And what are those details? Basically, what's their exit strategy? And exactly, and I mean exactly how long do they need? So like I mentioned, my strategy to enter Mexico for 180 days was actually a strategy to enter Mexico for 123 days, because that's how long I was planning to be in the country. In preparation to meet the immigration official upon entry into Mexico, I printed and had ready with me proof of all of my details of my travel. I had a copy of my accommodation receipt, a copy of my travel insurance, a copy of my bank statement, and a copy of my flight details. In addition to all of this, because I don't speak Spanish, I also wrote a brief letter outlining the details of my trip. The letter was typed in 13-point font, so it would be easy to read, and was in both Spanish and English, with Spanish at the top of the letter, of course. The letter was important for me because I speak English. I speak only a little bit of Spanish, a very small amount. Estoy hablo un poco español. Okay, so to help out, I'm gonna print out what I wrote as my letter to the immigration official here so that you can see. Now, the details are very specific to my travel, but you'll be able to see the details in what I used. Now, I'm gonna point out the immigration official didn't look at any of my other supporting document, but I had it all in a folder and it was visible to him. It was still in front of me, it was on the counter, but he did thoroughly read out the letter, and I could see him scribing his finger down the list. So I know that he did it, and I know that it was a part of his process of determining how long he was going to grant me. Okay, so my strategy worked for me. I asked for 123 days, and he actually granted me 180 days, which is great because especially during COVID-19, the pandemic, I left Ottawa, Canada, and a week after leaving, lockdowns started to happen. They're currently in varying degrees of lockdown. If things got bad and it was not a good idea for me to travel anywhere else, it's nice to know that I have more time allowed right now. So I'm here for 123 days. I can extend it another couple months if I wanted to. Okay, so now I'm gonna say that, I've never done the job of an immigration officer, but I have worked in law enforcement in both Canada and Australia. And, understanding that it's to the discretion of the officer is very important in, creating this type of strategy. And what I would say is that I also didn't arrive wearing cut-off jeans and a, tank top t-shirt or whatever. I dressed half decent. I was wearing shoes, I was wearing pants, I had a, decent shirt on. I actually had a jacket on, not a suit jacket, but it was clean and it was tidy. I made sure that I was, freshly shaved, neck area, of course. And, when I approached the immigration officer, I approached, with a smile on my face, and I used what Spanish I knew to say hello. I presented my letter and had my documents out as well, and I believe that when I handed the letter, I think I probably said por favor, just saying please, so that he would know that I wanted him to look at it. And afterwards I said thank you, gracias. I said it twice. Despite it being, after the fact, I think it's important just to, your whole attitude approaching someone who, has the right and authority to determine, your future. It's a good idea to approach them with some respect and friendliness and just be as prepared as you can be. Not being dressed messy as well, and that type of thing, showing that I was serious and that I wasn't going to be a problem, that I was respectful. So I hear these stories of people entering, and I have no idea if they're coming into Mexico unprepared, or if they try to give some attitude, or if they're just not communicating clearly. I don't know what the story is. I think that depending on your port of entry, it's going to have some influence on how much time you get as well. I believe flying into Cancun right now is one of the areas that's a little bit more tricky, where they're giving less time. And I have heard that the immigration officials are saying things like 180 days is too long for a vacation, stuff like that. So I think that if, at least in my case, I gave a reason. I gave some history. I have never been to Mexico, and so I said, I've never been to Mexico. I'm here on vacation, or something to the fact. And I think giving, just acknowledging that, giving that reason of, why you want the 180 days is better than just showing up and, saying 180 days, even 180 days, por favor. To me, I would think, well, why? Why should I give you that? Are you here on vacation? Well, usually vacation's a week or two. So, yeah, the more information you give, I think the better, but I think you also don't want to overload them with information. So be as brief as possible, but just very clear with what you tell them. Explain that you have everything sorted out. You've got your accommodation, you have enough money, you're insured, you have a way out of the country, what your intention is. I'm here on vacation, I've never seen the country before, and yeah, that's the most you can do. And I think when you hear that they are limiting the amount of time that people can stay, you want to do the most that you can do. So anyway, so that was my strategy. My strategy worked. I got 180 days when I was only asking for 123. So, I hope it works for you.